I'm privileged to share an inspirational story of a police officer named Moira Smith. Moira, a wife and a mother of 2-year-old daughter, Patricia, was the first officer to report the terrorist attack on 9/11. She witnessed the first plane strike the first tower. Her story is best told by an eyewitness who was one of the last people to see her alive. We were exiting the stairwell to a ramp which led toward the main plaza. A slow-moving line progressed along the ramp to a down escalator which connected to the underground passageway being used to exit the compound. Moira stood at the end of the ramp, directing the traffic down the escalator. She had her flashlight in her hand and she was moving it like a baton. She was repeating over and over, "Don't look, keep moving." I came to the end of the ramp and I was standing squarely in front of Moira. Her face was full of pain. Her eyes said to me, "In this horrific situation, this is the best and only thing I can do." The mass of people exiting the building felt the calm assurance that they were being directed by someone in authority who was in control of the situation. Her actions seemed ordinary, even commonplace. She insulated the evacuees from the awareness of the dangerous situation. The result, everything proceeded smoothly. She helped to save hundreds of lives in Tower 2 before she was killed in the collapse. Moira Smith was the only female NYPD officer killed on 9/11. She was just 38 when she died and is survived by her now 14-year-old daughter, Patricia, and her husband, James, also a police officer. James says Moira was a trooper. Patricia is a little Moira. She has the same spirit, the same caring, the same vitality that Moira had. In a poem Patricia wrote, "People always tell me they are sorry, but I don't want sorry. I want my mother." We paid tribute to police officer Moira Smith, one of the heroes of 9/11.
I want to tell you about Rick Rescorla. Rick was the Vice President of Security for Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, the largest tenant of the World Trade Center. His heroic actions on the day of the attack, along with his extraordinary foresight and preparation, saved the lives of 2,700 people. Rick was known for his vigilant attention to the safety of the firm and the building. He insisted on holding twice-yearly evacuation drills by the stairwell for the firm's 22 floors in the South Tower. On September 11, 2001, his team was ready. Despite having received official instructions to stay put after the 8:46 a.m. crash in the neighboring tower, Rescorla told Morgan Stanley staffers to follow his evacuation plan, and he sent them 2 by 2 as they had practiced down the many flights of stairs. His decision and his preparation made all the difference. Although 13 employees, including Rescorla, perished, more than 2,500 employees left the tower alive. Rick was a retired Army colonel, veteran of combat in 3 wars, and a survivor of the 1993 bombing of the Twin Towers, in which he saved the lives of hundreds of Morgan Stanley employees. Rescorla was killed in the World Trade Center attacks of September 11, 2001. A bronze statue honoring Rick is now on permanent display on the Walk of Honor at the National Infantry Museum at Fort Benning, Georgia. We honor the memory and sacrifice of Rick Rescorla, one of the fallen of 9/11.
As was the case with many Americans, Michael Hingson's life changed dramatically on September 11th.
When I was born, my parents were told that I should be put in a home and sent away because blind people could never amount to anything and I would only be a drain on society. They rejected that and brought me up believing that I could do anything that I wanted to do just like anyone else and that I had the power to succeed. 9/11 and what happened to me on that day is the absolute validation of their beliefs and my beliefs. 9/11 demonstrated that I could be in the world, I could be in the most unfortunate place, and if it's possible to survive, why can't a blind person do that as well as anyone else?
Michael Hingson was on the 78th floor of the World Trade Center in New York. His yellow lab guide dog Roselle was sleeping peacefully under the desk, and the two had been going about their daily routines. In his own words, "I heard a loud noise like a bump, and then a lot of shaking. It was worse than any earthquake I've ever experienced. The building started swaying and the air was filled with smoke, fire, paper, and the smell of kerosene. The plane had struck 15 floors above him and Michael knew something serious had happened."
Whenever I went into the World Trade Center, I remembered the fact that it had undergone a bombing in 1993. So I always thought about, what am I going to do if there were an emergency? What would I do? So I spent a lot of time learning the whole complex.
Roselle led him through the disheveled office to the stairwell to begin the long descent, sometimes guiding, sometimes following behind him when things were tight. Michael said, "For me, the saddest part was talking to the firemen as they were coming up the stairs. That's what I will always remember the most." By the time we reached the bottom, it had become very hard to breathe, he said. We were both very hot and tired. They were about 2 blocks away when Tower 2 began to collapse. It sounded like a metal and concrete waterfall, he said. We started running for the subway. Roselle remained focused on her work, and he kept his commands simple. Roselle guided him to the home of a friend in mid-Manhattan, where they stayed until the trains were running again. He finally returned home to his worried wife at 7 p.m. We celebrate Michael Hingson and Roselle, 2 survivors of 9/11.